Got you. That's a very good question. Yeah. That's a very good question. So his question is bees. And, you know, we're going to look in the Bible too, and you see bees and you see honey. And the question is, are bees unclean or what? So let's go to Leviticus first, chapter 11. That's an excellent question. Excellent.
It's crazy. I was thinking that the other day.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna show you what I got. You know what I mean? Because this question ain't new. But Oh,
I just don't get why.
get what?
Like, I'm thinking about the question. Like he thought about it. I just never thought.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing about honey, though. Well, let's read this first. Let's read Leviticus chapter 11, and let's start it at verse 1.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud,
Keep reading.
or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
Let's skip. Let's jump over to verse 13.
And these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cacao, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the greer eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat.
Just skip down to 20.
All fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind.
Go ahead.
But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you.
Right, so he's telling us the locusts, the grasshoppers, those are the things that are clean. But bees aren't clean. Now, that's number one. Bees aren't clean. Number two, that's before we do that. Let's look at some more stuff. Let's look at some people eating honey and stuff like that. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get a decent answer. And we're gonna look at a few little bits on this. But let's go to the first place we find it. Go to Genesis 43. And let's pick it up at Genesis 43. This is like the first place in the Bible that we even see honey. Genesis 43, and let's pick it up at verse 6.
And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother?
Right. This is Joseph, you know what I'm saying, when they was going down into Egypt. Keep reading.
And they said, The man asked us straightly of our state, and of...
Talking about Joseph asked, because Israel is Jacob. Joseph asked his brothers. They said, the man asked us straightly of our state and of our kindred, saying, is your father yet alive? Because this is when Joseph wanted to know. He talked to his brothers. Go ahead.
Have ye another brother?
Yeah.
And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we certainly know that he would say, bring your brother down?
Like, he was like, we told him, we didn't know he was going to ask him to give us your brother, though. That's crazy. Go ahead.
And Judah said unto Israel his father, send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones.
Go ahead.
I will be surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever.
Go ahead.
For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time. And their father Israel said
that's the same person. Go ahead.
Unto them, if it may be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits in the land and in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little balm, and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds.
So like this Jacob saying, when you go back to Joseph, who they don't know is Joseph, like when you go bring some spices, some almonds, and a little bit of honey. Bring the best of what we got, okay? Let's go look at another spot here. Let's go look at, this is interesting. Let's go to Leviticus. Until land flowing with milk and honey. I don't want that, but we know that's common. No, let's go to Leviticus Chapter 2 first. Let's go here first. I pretty much got an answer for you, Jude. We just getting into the book a little bit. We're going to find some honey, see how they ate it, you know what I mean? See what it say about it. But when I say I got an answer for you, because I did something real simple while we was up here, and I just looked up how you make honey. That's the first thing I did. The second thing is, so does anybody in here own a pet? You own what you got? A hamster? Is that a clean animal? He run around your house? He don't run around your house? Where the hamster be at? It be in our room? Is your room unclean? It's not. Maybe we're still on her cycle, but it's not because of the hamster. Because you only unclean if you dead, right? So when you look at the bees, they ain't dead. They living bees, and we'll look at the process of them making the honey, because bees can't manufacture honey on themselves. That's not really what's happening. They're actually getting the honey from the flowers. So we're gonna look at that process of it too. So it's not like you're eating anything unclean. That's the reality of it, because that's a great question that you asked, and I've had it before and just kind of didn't care, really. Like, okay, well, I see they ate it in the Bible, so it must be straight. But I just did a little bit more research. But we're gonna look at some of all of that of ourselves. But let's go to where we going. Leviticus, where I said? Did I say? Leviticus Chapter 2, and let's start at verse 1. But we're gonna jump it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Leviticus 2 and 1.
And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon. He shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priest, and he shall take thereof his handful of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof.
All right, it's good. Verse 10.
And that which is left of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord made by fire.
Go ahead.
No meat offering which ye shall bring out unto the Lord shall be made with leaven. For ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of the Lord may be made by fire.
So one of the things we learned in here too is that the Lord say, when you bring the offering to me though, I don't want no leaven and I don't want no honey. So it just makes me think too that you own the right idea of thinking about honey in itself. Just like when you think about the fact that there's a time when you can't eat leaven. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, it ain't, I mean, really, you can eat unleavened bread anytime, 365 days out the year, but not leavened. You know what I'm saying? It's a week where you can't eat that. And he threw that in there with the honey. Now, why? I don't know for sure. But it just lets you, it just let me know that we barking up the right tree though, with asking and trying to understand, because honey ain't just normal. You know, what is honey though? Is it a fruit? What is honey, y'all? Is it a meat? What's honey?
It's the stomach's throw up, bee throw up.
That's what you think it is. Bee throw up.
From the flowers, yeah.
Wait a minute, bee throw up from the flower. All right, we're gonna look and see exactly how they make honey. Cause you close, but not really
They
though.
got two stomachs.
Because the first part of the first part of what the bee is doing is grabbing the nectar.
Right.
It's really just taking the nectar from one spot to another. In the process, though, we'll look at it in a minute. We'll look at it. So let's look at some more, though. Let's go to Leviticus 20. Leviticus chapter 20, since we here, in verse 24. Leviticus 20, and we'll start at 22, and we'll run it down to about 24. Leviticus 20, start at verse 22.
Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you. For they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from the other people.
That's crazy too, though, because even with, like, when you think about milk and honey, like, and we don't even question, and we know we can eat the cow. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't, that's not even the question about it, but we don't even question, like, you know, the land of milk and honey. You know what I'm saying? Even though, like we said, the bee is an unclean animal. But also something else here too, though, just on a educational, I guess, note, or how we, whatever, like, both milk and honey come from the byproduct of an animal. That's something to think about. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, yo, I'm going to give you a land of milk and honey. And by the way, if you take milk and put some honey in it, it's pretty good. Yeah, I don't care what kind of milk it is. But let's go to Judges now. We're gonna see that we ate this milk. This honey. Judges chapter 14. Judges chapter 14. Judges 14. And we're gonna look at one more spot. We're gonna look at David and them. They ate some honey. So I just want us, we're doing all this just to show, like, we see that they ate honey in the Bible. So before we get to questioning, you know, what we buying at the grocery store, like, we see that after they were conscious of the law, they still continued to eat honey, as well as we saw that the Lord said, a land flowing with milk and honey, as if I'm giving that to you. All right, but Judges chapter 14, and we're going to check out one of the smartest brothers in the Bible, Samson. So we're going to start at Judges chapter 14 and verse 6. And when you get there, go ahead.
And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and, behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion.
So, like, this time, and this what always blew my mind, is that my man was eating out the carcass of a lion, which we know to be unclean. Wasn't even so much what he was eating, but it was just even that it was out of the carcass of a lion. But go ahead.
And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat.
Now, this is Samson who's doing this, and he's a Nazarite, so his diet is definitely peculiar, to say the least. He ain't drinking and he ain't eating ketchup. If we try to get Samson ketchup, that's vinegar. That's an abomination to him. So he's eating differently, but we see he's eating honey. Go ahead.
But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
Yeah, he didn't tell his mama that. I know that.
So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will not put forth a riddle unto you. If ye can certainly declare with declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out. Then I will give you the 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. But if ye cannot declare it me, then shall ye give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments.
Okay,
And
that's good. He's just basically about to give him a riddle about. Read verse 14 so you can see the riddle.
And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle.
Right, talking about when he had got the honey out of the lion. And then he brought it back to them like, y'all got a riddle for y'all. Out of the what he said, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they ain't know it was that lion with the honey in it. That's cold. So at any rate, let's look at some more though. Let's go to Samuel, 1 Samuel. Because Samson might have been a screw up. You see, he didn't even tell his mama no that he had got that honey out that carcass. So let's go to Samson now. 1 Samuel chapter 14. And let's start it at verse 25, I guess. Yeah.
This is the one I wanted to question you about.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
And 25. And all they of the land came to a wood, and there was honey upon the ground.
Hold on, my bad. I'm in 2 Samuel. I'm like, wow, that don't look right. 1 Samuel, what we said, 14, and what did we say started?
25?
25, but should we start up higher? Yeah, probably so. Let's start here and then we'll just see if we need to. But go ahead.
And all they of the land came to a wood, and there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were coming to the wood, behold, the honey dropped, but no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath.
Oh, the oath was that they were supposed to be fasting. But go ahead.
But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. Wherefore he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in an honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. Then answered one of the people and said, Thy father straitly charged the people with an oath, saying, Cursed be the man that eateth any food this day. And the people were faint. Then said Jonathan, My father had troubled the land. See, I pray you, how mine eyes have been enlightened, because I tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if happily the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found? For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Philistines. And they smote the Philistines that day from Mishmash
Yes.
to Aijalon. And the people were very faint.
Go ahead.
And the people flew upon the spoil, and took sheep, and oxen, and calves, and slew them on the ground. And the people did eat them with the blood.
Go ahead.
Then they told Saul, saying, Behold, the people sin against the Lord, in that they eat with the blood. And he said, Ye have transgressed. Roll a great stone unto me this day. And Saul said, Disperse yourselves among the people, and say unto them, Bring me hither every man his ox, and every man his sheep, and slay them here, and eat, and sin not against the Lord in eating with the blood. And
So like out of all this, we see that the sin was to eating with the blood, and it wasn't so much them eating honey at all, which we would see it would clearly say so here, because that's what they would have did. So one of the things that I went and did was looked up how to make honey. And you had a question or a statement?
No, kind of a statement and question at the same time.
Go ahead, what you
Like,
got?
Was this honey like from the tree, like the tree sap?
Right, because you said because they saw the honeycomb.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I thought about that too when we was reading. It was like, is there? Yeah, like maybe some tree sap. But even still, we eat honey from the bee. So you know what I'm saying? Like, because I follow what you're saying because I saw that too. Huh?
I say trees also produce honey.
Right.
Should we make a difference between the clean and the unclean, like to see? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I follow you. But the question is, do unclean bees make honey? They don't. You dig what I'm saying? Like unclean bee. The bee ain't unclean until he's dead.
Yeah.
So if he's not dead, it's just like me. I'm not unclean until I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm not dead, then I'm not unclean. So then it's not like a dead bee make honey, or it's not we're getting honey from dead bees. Just like say that now?
A pig.
Like a pig.
Like the dead carcass.
Oh yeah. Nah, but here's the catch though. I wouldn't eat pig milk. I would eat dog milk. But guess what though? We eat human milk though, won't we? Yeah, we do. The kids get to them all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that's the same thing as cow milk, really. I mean, it's pasteurized, whatever. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get us to understand, like, we do, when we talking about going inside of a pig's, when we talking about going inside a bee's stomach, that's what the nectar do. We about to read it. That's what the nectar do. And then it's basically regurgitating it. And we asking, should we be eating it because the bee is unclean? The bee is only unclean when he's dead. And it's just like a human, a woman, she's an unclean animal too if she were dead. But yet, we have no problem feeding our young her milk. But we're going to look at this bee concept here, and this honey concept. The process of making honey lasts approximately 45 days, where each bee develops a specific function in the way through teamwork. The correct development of the process is guaranteed, and therefore the creation of a high-quality honey. Here we show you what this process consists of. How is the process of making honey? Extraction of nectar from the flowers. So that's the first thing they do. They take the nectar. The process of making honey begins with the collection of nectar from the flowers. In this step, the adult worker bees, that is, with at least 21 days, fly over the flower to extract the nectar. To obtain the nectar rich in sugar, the bees suck the flowers with their long tongues. In this way, when beekeepers want to obtain honeys from certain flowers, what they do is place the hives next to the flower that they want to pollinate. Thus, some kind of honey and rosemary, etc. So what they're saying is, for the bee, when they want to make a certain kind of honey, they take the flower that they gonna get, and then it seems like they say they take they say in this way that when the beekeepers want to obtain honey from certain flowers, what they do is place the hives or the beehives next to the flower that they want to pollinate. So whatever, yeah. So it's like, okay, bang, they're gonna beehive. All right, we're gonna put whatever flower we need to make this honey with. Bees deposit nectar in their hives. Once the nectar has been extracted from the flowers, the honey making process continues when the bees ingest the nectar and store it in their abdomen, called the honey crop. Once ingested, bees modify the pH of the honey by combing it with enzymes. Later, the bees return to the hives where the honey making process continues. There they pass the nectar to other young worker bees, which extract and break down the nectar through various enzymes digested into simpler compounds. Sound like honey ain't nothing but some bee stomach juice. That's what it sounds like, sweetened by a flower. This explains the sweet, it says, digested into a simpler compound rich mainly in fructose and glucose. This explains the sweet honey flavor in its great caloric intake. In this way, the bees chew this nectar for about half an hour until the humidity of the nectar goes from 70% to 20%. Likewise, these enzymes modify the pH of the honey, reaching about 3.9%. That is very acidic product. Yeah, long story short, yeah, we eating it. This honey come from the bee, really. I mean, we could say it come from the nectar, but they doing too much to it inside their stomach to say that it just come, that you can make it any other kind of way. But like you were saying, they got sap. I don't think that that's what they were talking about when they was reading about honey. When we see that Samson grabbed the honey.
Well, that honey was different. You know what I'm saying? In Samuel, it sounded like it was from the tree. Like it was falling from the tree.
You talking about the one Samuel? I mean, in the book of Samuel.
Yeah.
You saying it was different from the one that Samson had?
I don't know. I'm just saying it sounds like.
It does. But let's see if we find some more honey. At the end of the day,
I think God allows certain things, not, he didn't say much about being honey. But it's okay with him there. It doesn't mean being it's clean. It's unclean there. It looks like God allowed us to have it.
well, what I do know is that the bee ain't unclean while he alive. That's what I do know. But, and like I say, but I'm not gonna eat no pig milk though. You know what I'm saying? Just cause like he ain't unclean either. I'm not gonna eat no dog milk. But here's the catch, I probably would eat dog milk if I had to. If I was stranded somewhere and we had the dog and she had just had some babies and we need, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe I would do all that. Or maybe I would let my kids eat gorilla milk. Like from a gorilla, from an ape or something. If that, you know what I mean? If we really was in that situation, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I would. Because what I do know is these animals aren't unclean until once they're dead. So, I can't, same thing with a bee. He's not unclean until it's dead. But I just never really realized, and I got some more on honey, but like, even if you look at, like, turn to Jeremiah 41:8. And short of Samson, I don't know where it tell us that anybody ate bee honey. And
John the Baptist ate locusts and honey.
I said bee honey.
It doesn't say what kind.
See, and the reason I'm right, I'm scrolling through it, so I'm like, I just read, John the Baptist, but what I'm getting at is, so we see a honeycomb honey. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see that more than just right there. You know what I'm saying? Of a honey that comes from a honey, what we probably would call sap. You know what I mean? Now he say a land flowing with milk and honey. You know, I'm under the impression that we're talking about bee honey, but then we do see another honey
I was
though.
thinking trees.
Right, see, so there you go. You got he like it's tree honey. I'm like it's bee honey. You know what I'm saying? But really, that's why I was making a statement. There's only one time we see one person eating bee honey, and that's Samson. And Samson did what he wanted to do because he grabbed the honey out of a dead lion. So I ain't really putting too much stock into what Samson do, as if I can do it. Because Samson was sleeping with women. You know what I'm saying? Samson's life was different. You know what Samson is? Samson is your typical jock, all right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he your WWE wrestler or something. Like he get all the babes, you know, like he get beat up everybody, super strong. Everybody know about him. Like that's Samson. I don't really want to use him for our example of right or wrong. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is I don't really see a lot of bee honey in the Bible for us to make a definitive statement one way or the other. The only thing that I truly can say that I understand is that we feed our children milk from their mama's breast. And it is really no difference than taking something from anybody else's breast or from inside anybody else. So that's the thing. That's the only thing I can really see. But let's read what I tell you to go.
Jeremiah 41.
41:8.
But 10 men were found among them that said unto Ishmael, Slay us not, for we have treasures in the field of wheat and of barley and of oil and of honey. So he forbare and slew them not among their brethren.
So why did I read that one? No reason. No reason in particular. Just to show though, like it ain't really being specific. Nowhere, no time to be honey. Nowhere. Go to Psalms 19 verse 10. Read that. Nowhere except when you look at Samson. I'm gonna look at another one here behind it. But read that one verse, and then we're gonna read a verse in Job. But again, my understanding is the animal ain't clean until it's dead. I mean, ain't unclean until it's dead. Now, it's a lot of stuff we don't do with unclean animals, live or dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool and all. But the fact of the matter is, the animal ain't unclean until it's dead. So therefore, there's nothing biblically saying that you couldn't eat something made in that process. There's nothing that's telling you can't. So it's not because the honey, when are we declaring the honey unclean? At what point? When it's in the bee's mouth? We can't really do that. Because how is it unclean? Like the bee didn't make it unclean. He ain't unclean. And neither is the nectar that he got it from. But let's read this Psalms 19 and verse what, 10?
Verse 10.
Go ahead.
More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb.
So now here would be the only time, and I don't even know if it's giving you two different, it says honey and the honeycomb as if most of the time that's where the honey's coming from. And I can't argue with, if anybody wants to say they got all their honey off of honeycomb, I can't argue that. Like I'm not about to sit here and begin to argue that with anyone because we'll have enough information on that. Let's look at Job. Like I said, we do have Samson. Job chapter 20 verse 17. We do have Samson, and Samson is like we said, we saw him go to the lion, get the bee, but then we also saw that it said in that story he didn't even tell them where he got it from, but it didn't say nothing was wrong with the honey. Go ahead, sis.
So, if we're saying that the honey could also be tree sap, what would be considered wild honey? Because the one for John the Baptist said, and his meat was locust and wild honey.
Yeah.
Would you consider wild honey
Bee honey?
bee honey, or
Oh, no.
could the tree sap be considered wild honey?
Well, here's one thing too. I don't know to answer that. And I saw that too though. And when I say I don't know, I'm not gonna just be making up stuff to tell y'all. And if the Bible ain't telling us that. Now, here's one thing I will say about sap. That's what we call syrup. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know so now what we can say is if we want to call syrup honeycomb honey, which I ain't got no problem with, then what we do know is you got two different types of honey going on. From the honeycomb honey to the bee honey. They different grades and everything, right? So then, going back to what you said, Sister Paula, maybe that's the wild honey. But when I say maybe, look, I'm not telling y'all I know nothing. I'm saying we walking this together. I can tell you what I do know, that bee ain't unclean. So therefore, I can't tell you not to eat bee honey, because you're going to say, why not? And I'm going to say it's unclean, and you're going to say where, when, and how. And I'm going to be looking at you like, well, the bee is unclean. You're going to say when? When he alive or dead? You see what I'm saying? Like we can have this argument too well in order for us to just definitively say no to bee honey. You know what I'm saying? But again, I respect and understand the question fully because, like we said, the bees are unclean, but they're only unclean when they're dead. And that's what we got to catch in all this. Where we at? Job, right?
Job 20.
You found it? Where are we talking? All right, read that verse.
He,
If we're going to go to that wild honey, we're going to go to that verse too.
he shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter.
Right, so, I mean, I'm just showing you different places where it talk about honey. You know, the brooks of honey, I don't even know if that's a real thing. And butter, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what Job, who said that anyway? What was it, Job 20?
That was Job 20.
No, Job didn't say that. Zophar says that. You have to watch when you read Job, who say what. Because a lot of times we be thinking Job doing all the talking, and Job don't do half the talking in the book of Job. But let's go to New Testament. Let's go to, and they gave him a piece of broiled fish and a honeycomb. We don't want that. That's when Jesus was resurrected. They gave him some fish and some honeycomb. But Matthew chapter 3. Matthew chapter 3, that's the one we're looking for. Matthew chapter 3. That's an excellent question, once again. You know what I mean? And like I say, the one thing about studying, teaching the Bible is what we don't want to do is get caught up in our emotion, caught up in our opinion, or our own ideologies of what something is. So I can't just tell y'all what I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? I can only base all this on what we can prove. And what we can't prove, well, what we haven't been able to prove anything really. The only thing we can say in discussion is that we do understand that unclean animals are dead. Now, does that mean I can eat a worm? You know what I mean? Like just go to the ground and just eat a worm like a bird? No, for a few reasons. One, because you ain't supposed to eat the blood. You know what I mean? So that eliminates you eating live animals. That's number one. And number two, because it's still unclean. He's going to die when you chomp on it. So you might say, well, the pig was clean when I cut his side out. I'm like, man, stop playing, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an unclean animal. Like, I don't, like, let's not play with God. That's the point I'm getting at. Because, you know, people be getting real slick. Like, yeah, you know, I chopped the dog foot off and ate it because he was still clean while he was a dog. I'm like, nah, it's an unclean animal. It just ain't unclean until he died. And we'll read that again. And you ain't supposed to touch the carcass or eat it once that happens. So we'll read that again. But let's go Matthew chapter 3 and verse 4. And when you get there, go ahead.
And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locust and wild honey.
Yeah, so we see he ate another honey. They don't say nothing about the honeycomb here. It's a wild honey. Now, I ain't saying that that's different honeys. I don't even know really. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying this is, we seen honeycomb honey. We seen bee honey. We see wild honey. I don't know. Wild honey to me should probably be one of the two. And I think it's probably bee honey. But that's my thought. That's not we can't prove that. There's nothing in here really to prove it. But let's go back to the dietary law.
So, Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Like how he says, God says, like, about the fat, right? Don't eat the fat, but you can use it for anything else, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he say that about the bee? Like, if we could use the bee honey for something else, like...
Possibly, but here's the thing. When he say don't eat the fat, you know what I'm saying? That's on, like, that's period on the animals that we gonna eat. And he be telling you why. We ain't about to eat the bee. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why he doesn't even mention, that's why we're going back to it. He doesn't even really mention the bee. But it's not about, like when we look at it, so going back to Leviticus 11. And we're going to read 20 through 23, and then we're going to jump down to 29, maybe. No, that ain't even it, though. That's the whole thing. But we're going to read, let's read mostly all of this so we can see. Let's read from 20 all the way down to 40. Let's do that. Go ahead.
And the fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which hath legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you, and for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even, and whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manners of beasts that go on all fours, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you.
Keep going.
These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel, and the mouse, and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until the even. And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean. whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even. So it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel, whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it.
Go ahead.
Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean, and all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges of pots, they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you.
Go ahead.
Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
That's kind of deep. All right, so what he was getting at too, just talking about that cleanliness law, like if it's a big body of water, don't be worrying about it. You know what I'm saying? If it's a well, something like that, it's like, yo, we ain't gonna, a pond, something like that, we ain't gonna worry if something you find unclean in it or around it or something like that. Also, what we saw in there was if you got seed and a carcass fall on it, don't worry about it. But if we wet that seed, then that seed is unclean. You know what I'm saying? These were some of the things that we saw. Let's go look at this fact real quick. Leviticus chapter 7, and let's go to Leviticus chapter. Let's go to Leviticus 3 first. Leviticus chapter 3, and Leviticus 3, and let's pick this up. Let's start at verse 10. Leviticus 3 and 10.
And the two.
Hold on. Okay, so Raquel just sent me something. You could have really. So where did this come from?
I just was looking, I was reading from the website.
Oh, so you don't know where this came from?
I can send you the link if that's what you're asking.
I mean, you could just tell me too, if you know. I'll read it. It says, this is about raw honey and wild honey. It says raw, this is what somebody, I don't know. Is raw honey the same as wild honey? Raw honey is sold in two different forms. One form is a farm honey, or the honey that is produced in bee boxes by beekeepers. Then there is wild honey, which is produced in the natural beehives of the cliffs and the trees in the forest. So I don't know if that's.
Where's wild honey?
I'm sorry.
I was just looking up what is wild honey, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know if the Bible is, when we see wild honey in the Bible, and then, but like that, our question is this: is wild honey from the bees, and is the honeycomb honey another honey? What that just said is wild honey is from the bees and raw honey is from the bees. You know what I mean? Like that didn't really address what we was looking at. We saw honeycombs, and so we can say that trees produce honeycombs. So it's not saying that an animal produced that. Now, what I was saying during that same conversation is, well, if we talking about sap from trees, then we call that syrup. So now I'm saying, is the difference in is one syrup and one honey, and the Bible calls it all honey? I don't have the answer for that, is what I was saying. So what you showed me is more like the thinking of man. Raw honey, the difference between raw honey and wild honey. You know what I'm saying? Which is not really what the Bible was, like what we was coming from with the Bible.
You said trees produce the honeycomb? Is that what
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah. Every time we see it, I mean, unless you know something better.
I mean, bees produce honeycombs too.
Bees produce it on the tree.
I'm sorry?
The bees do it on the tree.
The bees do the honeycomb on the tree?
Yeah.
You ever seen the tree sap? Like, sometimes it'll be a big ball of sap though.
Yeah, I know that. That is the leaves from the tree. But the tree is sap.
No, it could just be a little hole on that tree, and that tree will start leaking.
Trees make sense.
Yes, I know that, that's for example.
Maybe
But
we
that's
should-
not the honeycomb though, that's not the honey, that's different.
But it doesn't say.
Bees go and make a bee hive at the tree, yeah.
The tree naturally just makes the sac inside without the honeycomb.
They make beeswax too, which builds the honeycomb.
Yeah.
And latex too. I don't think they actually make an actual honeycomb.
No, the bees make.
The bees make it, but not the tree itself.
No.
Yeah, the honeycomb come from the bee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they make it using
Honeycomb, yeah. It's a mass of hexagonal prismatic wax cells built by honeybees in their nest to contain the larvae.
Science, man.
Yeah, and store of honey and pollen. So I guess when we go back to when we look at it, like back in that Samuel, did we read the Leviticus when we came here?
We didn't read it yet.
Okay, so let's do this first. We look at here for the fact, then we'll go back to the honeycomb.
Okay.
Hold on, let's go back. I don't remember what we was looking for.
Chapter 3.
Was it 3? Leviticus, was it chapter 3 or chapter 2?
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Alright.
You're just gonna start at 10 verse 2.
Okay, good. Yeah. You said chapter 3 though?
Chapter 3, verse 10, yeah.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and start reading that then.
And the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire unto the Lord. And if his offering be a goat, then he shall offer it before the Lord, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of it, and kill it before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the son of Aaron shall sprinkle the blood thereof upon the altar round about, and he shall offer thereof his offering, even an offering made by fire unto the Lord, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards. And the 2 kidneys and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidneys it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire for a sweet savor. All the fat is the Lord's. It is a perpetual statute for your generations and throughout all your dwellings, that ye eat neither fat nor blood.
Alright, so, we just say here, you're not supposed to eat the blood or the fat, but, this is we looking at it, it's like prepared in a certain way. You know what I mean? Meaning this ain't, cause one of the statements, Brother Glenn was saying is, well, shouldn't it tell us not to eat the fat, just like it tell us, not to eat the honey, like it would tell us not to eat the fat or something. And I'm like, nah, usually when they was dealing with the fat, they was dealing with the sacrificing, so forth and so on and so forth, because there's always fat with meat. And he's like, when you're making these sacrifices, don't eat the fat. Don't eat the fat. That's what he's getting at. So I don't necessarily see why he would have to say that for the honey. But just going back to this honeycomb joint. So yeah, and again, I'm going to the scripture where we saw that. And we saw that in Samuel, right? And we saw him pick up the honeycomb. So I guess we could say that they wasn't in error. Yeah, 1 Samuel chapter 14. Yeah, 1 Samuel 14, and read that verse 25 and 26 again. Or 26 and 27. Chapter 14, 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 26 and 27. So when you get there, you can go ahead and read.
And when the people were coming to the wood, behold, the honey dropped, but no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. Wherefore he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened.
So what we understand is basically just from looking up what the honeycomb is, that's just what the honey be in. It's like the holy thing. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say the holy thing, like when they go to the beehive and they pull out that thing and they got that's the honeycomb. So with that being the honeycomb, then I don't really see scripturally where the Lord is telling us that we can't eat the honey. And again, my main point of reference to where we wouldn't be able to eat the honey is if the animal is unclean. But what I'm saying is, it is an unclean animal once you start dealing with his carcass, once he dies. But just like a human, when when you're eating or drinking from a human, which would be milk in this case, it's not declared to be unclean. That human is still alive. That milk is freshly coming out from the mom. And when I say that, I'm like, because it ain't just babies that eat the milk. Like they take human milk and sell it to athletes even as some high form of protein or something. You know, I wouldn't say that's an unclean thing. So therefore, I wouldn't say that taking honey. Well, we see biblically that they ate honey. Taking honey from the honeycomb, which was made by, I guess, a flower mixing with the enzymes of the stomach of a bee. I can't declare that to be unclean when I'm reading constantly in the Bible that they ate it. So I don't really have anything other concrete that I could give that to anybody to say one way or the other, but here's what I will say. If in doubt, just do without. You know what I mean? Like if you really that on the fence about honey, then you ain't gotta have it. Like just move to syrup. Peanut butter and syrup sound real good. I've had that before. Tastes just as good as peanut butter and honey. So,
Oh, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I just saw people frying honeybee and eating them. I'm like,
I'm not frying a honeybee and eating it.
I was reading some people in Ukraine restaurant.
In Ukraine?
Yeah, they fry the bees and they eat them.
That's another Asian country we're not eating in.
Yeah,
I'm not eating with many Asians. You know the Ukraine, that's in Asia, right?
no,
Oh, it's in Europe. Ukraine is in Europe? Okay, I know. Well, it's on East Europe. But it's close enough to Asia. I ain't fooling with it. Yeah, I ain't look here. Them Eastern Europeans, I ain't messing with their stuff either. I ain't messing with the Southern Asian stuff, none of that, because people eat weird. Yeah, that's all. They frying bees, huh? Where's the meat in that? Where's the meat in that?
Whatever moves.
Huh?
Whatever moves.
Where's the meat of locusts? What, we gotta ground the locusts up? Like just take a whole bunch of locusts and just ground it up and make.
That's protein.
You ate locusts before? Where? You said back in Africa?
No, we don't call ourselves Africa.
But where did you say you ate it though?
It's in Africa.
That's what you said in West.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm not going. I know y'all don't call y'all
Again, it's very, very crazy.
How did you eat it?
You fry it, you roast it.
One locust.
You can whole bunch.
I mean, but I'm saying you gonna eat like one locust.
I eat more than one. Put some salt and pepper.
With salt and pepper.
Yeah.
And you it was finger food or it was like a fork or how'd you do it?
No, use your finger.
No, I know.
Lord have mercy. I passed, man.
You see the eyes? You see
No, the eyes gone, man. Oh, you do see the eyes?
The eyes will be covered
Man.
It's
I like American food, man. Give me a Wendy's cheeseburger over a locust burger any day.
burger.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so but yeah, so we can eat locusts. We're not gonna eat bees though. But I can't read or prove to anyone that we can't eat honey because again, like we said, that has nothing to do with any unclean animal. That has something to do with the bee while he's still alive, which would make him unclean. So hopefully that helped clear it up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Like meaning that's always been I've had that question before. I've questioned myself on it. I've had it, and because I understand. You know what I'm saying? It's like this bee is unclean. What are we doing? But for one, the first point of reference is as I run through the Bible, I just see too many people eating honey, and too many people so that it hadn't been. To me, it seemed like the Lord would have said something about it if it was different honeys. So that's one thing.
Like the pig, right? Like how he's like, oh, you see that one with the foot, like watch out for the foot.
Right.
It would have been like watch out for the honey, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm with you though. Right. So that's what I'm saying. He doesn't tell me that. And then when I begin to investigate how we develop honey, it has nothing to do with an unclean animal. And when I mean it has nothing to do with an unclean animal, because the bee ain't unclean. why he digest it and move it from one place to the other. So that's all I got. Hopefully that helped clear it up a little bit. I don't know. Don't ask me if chicken clean, because I can't give you the answer on that one either. You know what I'm saying? That's another one. People be like, is chicken clean or unclean? I'm like, man, we been eating that yardbird a long time for it to be unclean. I'm hoping that it is in the same family as the turkey and the quail. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, if you ask me, I'm not going to argue with anybody on if chicken is clean or unclean. All I'm going to tell you is, if you don't want it, give it to me. Not just playing. If you don't want it, don't eat it. If you don't want the chicken, don't eat. Look, we can go vegan for all I care. Then we can stop all of that, you know. But even, I wonder though, do vegans eat honey? Y'all know that? Like the real vegans, the ones that they eat no meat. I don't know what kind of vegan them is. But do they eat honey?
Raw vegans?
I don't know, you know, it's like two different kinds. It's like a vegetarian and it's like,
The one that is the one dairy and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like raw vegans that don't eat anything cooked. Like even like a vegetable, they'll only eat it at its raw state. Like they won't cook it down.
do they eat honey?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I just want to know.
Yeah, I was always hear about go to heaven, milk and honey. And I always say, you have to go to heaven and milk and honey is here. And yet I heard the Lord was to prepare a place somewhere here where you can have milk and honey.
Remember, say that last part again?
Lord was to prepare a place for us where we can milk and honey.
Right.
With milk and honey.
Yes. You said he made the earth for us with milk and honey?
Yeah, I used to read somewhere in the Bible.
Yeah.
I did read it, but I don't remember which.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he even told the children of Israel in numerous occasions, I give you a land of milk and honey.
Something like that.
Yeah. We could have definitely had read that. I wanted to see when we was eating it. But yeah, it's definitely in there that he gave them the promised land, a land of milk and honey. I think, and nobody's arguing if honey is okay as much as is it bee honey? Because the question could be, is there another type of honey? And well, to my understanding, the only other type of honey that you could possibly be talking about would be syrup. You know what I'm saying? It's what we call syrup. You know what I mean? So I don't, you know, all I know is, and I think that if it was a level of confusion like that, that it would have been somewhere in the Bible like, look, yo.
Straight it out.
Yeah. So I'm under the impression that it's okay to eat honey, and I kind of like honey.
Okay, my other question. All right, my question.
No problem.
Satan is going to, the Bible says that Satan is going to be bound after God come back here for 1,000 years. So what happened after that 1,000 years?
Very good. Let's go to Revelation 21. We're going to answer this question. Or Revelation 20. Revelation 20. What happens after the 1,000 years? What happens after the 1,000 years? Satan gonna be bound, and what happens after the 1,000 years? So go to Revelation chapter 20. Pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 20 and verse 1. And when you get there,
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after,
all right, so now we see when he's going. This Sabbath of rest, the millennium period, that's all while Satan to be locked up. Go ahead.
And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
So after that 1,000 years, he's going to be loosed a little season. So you're going to have spiritual beings, you're going to have Jesus on the earth, and then Satan's going to be locked up, and then you're going to let him out for a little bit. Go ahead. He's going to give you more detail. Go ahead.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Go ahead.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Go ahead.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
Verse 7. So here we go. Here go your answer.
And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Right.
And
so when the 1,000 years are up, now Satan gonna be taken out of the prison that he was put in. Go ahead.
and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth,
Who are they?
Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
So we see that after he get locked up, he gonna be able to come back out to deceive some of the nations again. Satan is. Okay, go ahead.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them.
Go ahead.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
So you see, Satan is going to be loosened out of his prison after that 1,000 years. He's going to be allowed to go back and deceive the nations. He's going to succeed in deceiving Gog and Magog. And then from there, he's going to get thrown into the lake of fire. And that'll be the story of Satan.
But he's deceiving the nation right now.
He's deceiving them now. But like, he's deceiving them now. But then, because like even in the Bible, it's like he the king of all these nations. He the king of the earth. That's what they call him. Call him the king of this world, the prince of the power of the air, things of that nature. When you read about the king of Babylon, it be talking about Satan. So he's deceiving the nations now, but then the Lord gonna lock him up for 1,000 years. When he come back, the first thing the Lord gonna do when he return is put that Antichrist and that beast in the lake of fire. And he's going to lock Satan up in a bottomless pit. I don't know where that pit is. Like, I guess it's just outer space. It doesn't really matter. And he's going to be there for 1,000 years. Then after that 1,000 years, he's going to let Satan back onto the earth. And Satan is going to deceive God and Magog, as we read it. And then fire from heaven going to come. God, the Father, going to deal with Satan, kick his butt, and put him in the lake of fire. And that's the end of the Satan story. Because ultimately, like, let's turn to Matthew 25. Matthew 25. And let's read verse 41. Matthew 25 and 41. Just read that one verse right there. Matthew 25 and verse 41.
Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels.
Right, so ultimately the lake of fire was prepared for Satan and his angels. So like at the end of the day, that's where he's going to be. But in the meantime, he's going to be locked up or he's going to be out deceiving the nations, one of the two. So he's locked up for 1,000 years. Then after that 1,000 years, for a little bit of season, it doesn't say how long, whether it's 2 months, 5 years, 50 years, 100 years. It's going to be a little time after that 1,000-year period in which Satan going to be able to deceive Gog and Magog again. They're going to try to fight Jerusalem. They're going to lose because the Father going to kick their butt when he come back. And that's how the story ends. Then after that, I don't know. Like, for real. We just going to be with the Father. I don't know, man. I'm going to be like, yo, Pops, can I go make me an Earth number 22? Like, over there somewhere and do it all over. I want to make my own Adam and Eve. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go make it so bad, I might make Adam and Eve white. You know what I'm saying? Just the best with everybody. Just change everything. Like, your God black, even though y'all white. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, though, I don't know what comes after that, but that's what the Bible shows us. Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Oh shit!
You good?
Sorry.
You good.
I ain't mean to curse.
It's all good. Is the devil that proud that he doesn't know like this? Like he knows this is gonna happen, but he can't help himself. Is he that proud that he can't help himself to still even try?
Is he deceived too? At an on time, like, is he so proud? that
Like he knows the book and he knows this is gonna.
I don't know.
Is
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he knows the book. There's a lot of ways to look at that. Like when I say, we're gonna look at some of those ways, but there's a lot of ways to look at that statement. So the first way I guess we can look at it is, let's look at Daniel. I'm gonna show you something in Daniel first. I don't know the answer to that. Like y'all having the questions that you're gonna still have 20 years from now. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? These ain't the questions you're gonna really catch your answers to. But a good question nonetheless. And definitely one to make you think. Now I'm gonna read you something that was in Daniel, and Daniel didn't even understand it. So just because, see, understanding comes from the Lord. Understanding comes from the Lord. Oh, yeah. So since understanding comes from the Lord, then how do you know if Satan understands? Like you can hear people come to church and can hear the truth and still don't understand. How do we know what Satan understands? Daniel chapter 12, pick it up in verse 5. I want you to start at Daniel 12 and 5. And 4. Start at 4. Daniel 12 and 4. You get there, go ahead.
But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
Yeah.
Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and half, when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people. All these things shall be finished.
Keep reading.
And I heard, but I understood not.
So even Daniel is reading and hearing and don't understand. So there is no guarantee that Satan understands the operation of God. Go ahead, keep reading.
And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end.
So he telling Daniel, hey man, he trying to understand. He said, Daniel, man, this ain't even for you. This is for another time, another place. But let's go to Thessalonian now. Thessalonian, and let's go to, I don't know which one. I'm gonna tell you when I get there. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, maybe? No, chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians, I'm sorry. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And just read verse 9, 10, and 11.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan.
So it's this man, and his coming is after the working of Satan. Really, he gonna have the spirit of Satan on him. This is the Antichrist we're reading about here. Go ahead.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and science and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Go ahead.
And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
I honestly think that Satan just believes a lie. I think that Satan feels like he can win. Like, how else do you get the Antichrist to come down to Jerusalem to do what you got? Like that's who the spirit, the Antichrist is coming with the spirit of Satan. It's telling us that throughout the Bible. And yet, this man is trying to rule on earth, even when he see God in the air. I just think that he has a strong delusion on him. Like, I don't think he can control what his brain or his thinking does. And when it comes to God, it's just like gay people. Like, and I'm not trying to be funny, but like, I don't comprehend how a man can desire another man. There's no comprehension in my brain. You understand what I'm saying? It's like dumb, stupid, evil, wrong, all of that. Yet, I see men do it, and I don't know what's wrong with them mentally. Like, I don't know if you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you, delusional? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you, like, what is it? And so I look at it as the same parallel. Like, you got a reprobate mind. And so when I look at Satan, I'm just like, dude, you believe a lie. You believe this is okay. You believe that you could, you believe that you could be a woman. I guess that's what they believe. Doesn't even make sense to me. And so that's the way I look at Satan. Satan doesn't make sense to me. For you to think that you're going to, why you ain't repenting now? I'd be like, yo, my bad, bro. Like, I know it was a couple days ago I was up there causing trouble, but you a merciful God and say so in your Bible. Yeah, can I get back on good? Can we fix all this? Can we fix this whole creation? Look, man, we can rewind time if we want to. Like, if I was Satan, why he ain't trying to do that? Because he honestly don't think that he gonna lose. So then if he doesn't honestly think he gonna lose, or there's one other way to look at it. Let's go to Romans chapter 9. We'll look at one other way. Romans chapter, 11, I think. Maybe 9. I'll know when I get there. Yeah, 9. Another way to look at it. Verse 18. We'll start at 9 and 18. Romans chapter 9 and verse 18. Romans chapter 9 and verse 18. And when you get there, go ahead and read it.
Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy.
Talking about God. So even dealing with Satan, who he created. So you got to realize God said he created evil and good. People be acting like God didn't create evil. Yes, he did. God created it all. He said, I don't do evil, but I created it. So I made Satan. So maybe when I made Satan, this is just what I needed to be made. Watch this. Keep reading.
Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy. And whom he will hardeneth.
Yeah, whom he will.
He hardeneth.
All right, go ahead.
Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault?
So then why does God find fault? If he's hardening who he go harden, then why are you wrong for doing whatever you do? Go ahead.
For who hath resisted...
Satan, really? Why is Satan wrong? Go ahead.
For who hath resisted his will?
Who can resist the will of God? Keep going.
Nay, but...
If God made you evil, how can you change from that? But pay attention to what he's going to tell you afterward. Go ahead.
Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God?
He said, who is you to speak against God? Go ahead.
Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it?
Shall Satan say to God? Go ahead.
Why hast thou made me thus?
Why you make me evil, bro? Why you do this to me? Can he say that to God? Go ahead.
Hath not the potter power over the clay?
Don't the God got power over Satan to make Satan whatever the heck he want to make him? The Bible say that he made the wicked for the day of judgment. Just that. So God made God made Satan the way he is to serve the purpose. Go ahead.
So this is kind of like a question that I had too. So like for instance, right, we all here keeping the Sabbath, and God forbid, let's say one of us were to have a heart attack and we would have to go to the hospital. That doctor that's in the hospital, does he have the willpower to, he's working on the Sabbath right now. So does he have the chance or the willpower to, I end up in the hospital and he sees me and I'm talking to him and I'm like, oh, I was keeping the Sabbath. Now, does he have the power to say, wow, she's keeping the Sabbath, and then learn from that and then keep the Sabbath? Or is he in that place to always be there and just be a doctor who's going to forever work on the Sabbath and help one of us if we do need him?
I will say this. Jesus said that the priests defile the Sabbath and are blameless. Can y'all close that door, please? It said that the police. Okay, here they come. They got it. She got it, thank you. It said that the priests defile the Sabbath are blameless. So I'm not charging the doctor, the police, or the fireman with sin. I let God charge them with that. Now, I'm going to tell my son, if he wants to be the police, fireman, or the doctor, somebody got to do it, but that somebody ain't got to be you. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, like, because I expect, if one of us was to have a heart attack right now, I expect somebody to be at whatever the hospital y'all got so we can get this handled. Just like when Brother Keith had some type of diabetes issue during the Pentecostal years back, we took him to the hospital. He expected somebody to be there. Now, if we was in the land, we would have just took them to the Levites.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But regardless, I expect, and somebody trying to break in my neighbor's house last night, when I call the police, I expect them to show up. But like I said, we was in the biblical day, then we would handle that in that perspective too. But I don't have judgment for them. Their life is not just police, doctor, fireman either. You know what I'm saying? So God don't judge everybody according to their work. I don't see them getting up in the first resurrection though. So that means you're gonna have to deal with the judgment. Just because you're a good doctor don't mean you're a good person. Yeah. And being a doctor, lawyer, or a doctor, the only three we talking about is fire, doctor, and police. Being them don't mean you righteous. It just means you got a job and you get paid to do your job. Ain't nobody working for free on Saturday. Okay? But what we said, back to this Romans. Romans 9, and what verse did we stop at?
Well, let's go to 21.
All right, so at 21 he says, have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor, like Michael and Gabriel, and one vessel unto dishonor, like Lucifer and the angels that went with him. God made them that way. In the book of Job, he said the deceiver and the deceived are his. So God is the architect of life. He's the architect of determining righteousness and wickedness. So he gotta make everything perfect to play perfectly to his play. So Satan gotta be what he is. And I don't know. I don't think Satan gets it. But even if he got it, it doesn't matter. If Satan knew, all right, in the year 2038, I'm supposed to be coming back here and we're gonna do A, B, C, D, and E. Like, even if he knew, and I'm gonna get my butt kicked, but that's just what I gotta do. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't, but like, when I look at the story of Job and them, he was like, yo, have you considered my servant Job? He asked Satan that. So it don't seem like Satan is operating no more or less of a robot than we are. So with that being said, I don't think that Satan believes just like the rest of the people don't believe. Just like your Satanists don't believe. The Bible been here for a long time. Preachers don't believe. You understand what I'm saying? And I just think it's because it's the way that they're made. It's just like if you can go talk to somebody and preach the gospel to them till you blue in their face and they don't believe. It's just the way they're made. You know what I mean? Whereas you, like I say, the Lord's sheep hear his voice. You like, yo, I need to change my ways. Well, verse 22.
What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction?
See, look what he's saying. He's saying the vessels of wrath, they fitted for destruction. Like, what if he just, like, it's all to fulfill his will. Everything that he created and does. Go ahead.
And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, even us, whom he hath called not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. As he saith also in...
That's good. So there's one more thing I wanted to look at, and we'll open back up the question. Probably take one more. Proverbs chapter 16, I think. I don't know, I ain't gonna know till I get there. 16 and 4. My brain ain't as bad as it used to be. Proverbs chapter 16, we're going to read this one verse right here. Verse 4. Proverbs 16 and 4. And when you get there, my brother, go ahead.
The Lord hath made all things for himself.
God made everything for himself. That's including Satan. He made everything for himself. Go ahead.
Yea, even the wicked for the day of evil.
He's saying, I even made the wicked for the day of evil. So, I mean, to go back to the question, does Satan know what's going on? I have no earthly idea. I don't think he does. I don't think he gets it. Like Satan can listen to this class, right? Satan here, some of his angels is here, you know what I mean? But like he not gonna comprehend it. He gonna be like, yo, the default, like whatever reason anybody else don't comprehend it. I just think he not comprehending. Meaning, you could tell, we can let the preacher hear this today, Bible man, theologist man, whatever, and he be like, you don't know what you're talking about. So I think that's, that comes from Satan, and I think Satan believe a lot. That's just my opinion, because honestly, I ain't never talked to that dude, and really don't want to. So I don't know if he believe a lie, if he just stupid, if he, I don't know what he be thinking. But just from what I can see in the Bible, his people, with the spirit of Satan, they delusional. And that's what I think Satan is, delusional. Reprobate, yep. Like Romans 1. Yep. More questions, comments?
There's one online.
What we got online? We got time.
I think from Kate Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled up already? Will you explain Revelation 11 and 19? It's talking about the Ark of the Covenant. And if so, where can we read that the Ark of the Covenant left the earth and went into heaven? Also, what is the temple that was opened in heaven? Oh, gee, that was the rest of the question.
You got a good question. Revelation 11, right? I was reading this too, so I know what you're talking about. Revelation 11 and 19. And it says the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the ark of his covenant or testament, and there was lightnings, voices. Okay, so look. Here's the easy way to do this. Okay, so read that verse. Read that Revelation 11 and 19.
And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail.
All right, that's good. So,
I think I might have an answer for that.
go ahead. What you got?
Did he tell Moses to make a model of the temple?
That is the answer. Yeah. That's really the answer. I was going to go to Hebrews, and I was going to run this there. But yeah, when he told Moses to make it, he's mimicking the heavens. The Ark of the Covenant, that's the throne of God. That's in heaven. When Jesus come here, he ain't coming without no throne. So that's the same thing. And like you said, like when he told him, that's really the answer, what you just said. So let's go to Hebrews 9. Hebrews 9, let's go here first. And hold on, let me see. I'm trying to make this easy because we don't have a lot of time, so maybe we just go back to Exodus, really. Let's see. Moses, minute. Let's see. I think it should be in like Exodus 30 something, maybe 20 something. I don't know. Let's see what we got. Bruh, there's no way you're gonna get Moses out of that. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back to Hebrews. We should be able to find it here too. When he was make sure it says, yeah. Okay, so let's go to Hebrews chapter 8, and let's start at verse 1, and then we'll read from 1 through 5, and then we'll go to Exodus and find it again, and that should be good. So Hebrews 8, 1 through 5. When you get there, go ahead.
Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have someone also to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount.
So notice what he told him. He was like, look, he told him, make sure you make everything according to the patterns of the mountain when he talked to him. Let's go to Exodus 25 and we'll see that again. Exodus 25. So that's the real answer, is that when he was making all this, it was duplicating heaven. So this is what was up there. And so when it was time for it to come down, it's the same thing that John recognizes. Exodus 25, pick it up at verse 1. We're going to jump through it a little bit. When you get there, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering. Of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering. And this is the offering which ye shall take of them, gold and silver and brass.
That's good. Skip down to verse 8.
And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them.
Go ahead.
According to all that I showed thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it.
So when you're reading it, you're seeing that it was already done before it was done in Moses' day. Moses and them is mimicking something. And what they mimicking is the heavens. So when you say, well, where's the Ark of the Covenant? I'm like, yo, the Ark of the Covenant was mimicking the heavens. So when you go back to the Revelation and you see the Ark of the Covenant in the heaven coming down to us, that's because that's what Moses was mimicking to start with, not the other way around. It's not like Revelation, what you see in Revelation comes afterward. It actually came first. Keep reading.
And they shall make an ark of shittim wood.
That's good. Let's jump. Let's jump all the way to verse 35.
And there shall be a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same.
Dang, all these knops, huh?
I thought I was
Go
getting
ahead.
into it. According to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick.
Yeah.
Their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, that they may give light over against it. And the tongs thereof and the snuff dishes thereof shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it with all these vessels.
That's one expensive church. It's a $5.7 million. That's what they say. A talent of pure gold shall make it. Wow, that's deep. Go ahead.
And look that thou may make them after their pattern.
Right, he said, when you make them after their pattern, meaning that the temple that Moses had, the Ark of the Covenant, all of that, that's not the original. The original resides in heaven. And these were duplications of that. Go ahead.
Which was showed thee in the mount.
So hopefully that helps the abridged version to answer your question, which is, let's go back to that Revelation real quick, Revelation 11. And when I say the abridged version, just because we caught it at the end of today's session. But in Revelation 11, verse 19, he said, and the temple of God was opened in heaven. Right, the temple of God was opened in heaven. That's where it started. It didn't start on earth. And there was seen in this temple the Ark of his testament, or the Ark of the Covenant. And there was lightnings and voices and thunders and earthquakes and the great hail. So hopefully that helps answer that that was a great question too. Hopefully that helps answer that question. So anything else in here, you guys? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and stand facing Jerusalem, close out. As always, it's a pleasure to come to New York, preach the gospel.
Our Father,
which
art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
Lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
power,
and the glory,
glory,
forever.
forever.
In Jesus' name,
In Jesus' name.
amen.
Amen.